Have you ever found yourself feeling intimidated by those that you've worked with?
I mean, with De Niro, yeah, sometimes
well,
after I broke his nose, I was scared.
Robin Williams, the comedic genius who could reduce audiences to tears of laughter one moment and profound emotion the next, possessed a surprisingly complex relationship with his fellow performers that extended far beyond his public persona of boundless generosity and childlike wonder. While the world knew Williams as the hyperkinetic improvisational master who elevated every project he touched, industry insiders understood that beneath his manic energy lay a fiercely competitive artist who harbored deep resentments toward certain actors he viewed as unworthy of their success or dismissive of comedy's artistic potential. Williams's antagonisms weren't born from petty jealousy, but from profound philosophical differences about the nature of entertainment, the responsibility of performers, and the evolution of American comedy. His conflicts revealed a perfectionist who took his craft seriously even when delivering the most seemingly spontaneous performances, and who became genuinely frustrated with actors he perceived as coasting on gimmicks rather than developing genuine comedic skills. These weren't casual professional disagreements, but deeply held convictions about what separated true entertainers from mere celebrities. His rare but memorable feuds exposed the tensions between different generations of comedy, contrasting approaches to audience connection, and the ongoing battle between intellectual sophistication and populist appeal that defined Hollywood's comedic landscape throughout his career. Williams's dislikes were as revealing as his admirations, showing an artist constantly wrestling with his own place in entertainment history. Jim Carrey. Robin Williams's relationship with Jim Carrey represented one of comedy's most fascinating rivalries, rooted in their contrasting approaches to physical humor and Williams' growing resentment of what he perceived as Carrey's one-dimensional, rubber-faced antics. While both actors built careers on manic energy and transformative physicality, Williams viewed Carrey's success as evidence of audiences' declining sophistication and willingness to accept cheap laughs over genuine comedic artistry. Jim's got three faces, and he uses all of them in every movie, Williams reportedly told a friend during the height of Carrey's 1990s dominance. According to comedy writer Bruce Valanche, the tension intensified when both actors were frequently compared by critics and casting directors, with Carrey often winning roles that Williams felt required more nuanced comedic skills. Director Peter Weir, who worked with Carrey on The Truman Show, recalled that Robin would make these cutting remarks about Jim's range, suggesting that stretching your face wasn't the same as stretching your abilities as a performer. Williams particularly resented how Carrey's Ace Ventura success seemed to validate what he considered lowest common denominator comedy. Their philosophical divide extended to their different relationships with improvisation. Williams, the master of spontaneous wit and cultural references, found Carrey's more scripted physical comedy to be repetitive and limiting. Comedy producer Lorne Michaels observed that Robin saw Jim as representing everything wrong with modern comedy, all technique, no soul. The rivalry reflected Williams's deeper anxieties about whether genuine comedic intelligence could compete with broad physical humor in Hollywood's marketplace. Carrey proved that audiences would rather watch someone make faces than actually think, Williams once confided to a fellow comedian. Adam Sandler. Robin Williams' contempt for Adam Sandler stemmed from what he viewed as Sandler's deliberate embrace of juvenile humor and his seemingly effortless commercial success despite limited range and sophistication. Williams, who prided himself on comedy that could work on multiple intellectual levels, found Sandler's Arrested Development persona to be not just unfunny but actively harmful to comedy's artistic credibility. Adam's comedy is designed for people who think fart jokes are the height of wit, Williams reportedly complained to his manager, according to industry insider reports from The Hollywood Reporter. The animosity deepened when Sandler's string of successful comedies in the 1990s and 2000s dominated box office charts, while Williams's more sophisticated projects struggled to find comparable audiences. Williams felt that Sandler's success represented a fundamental dumbing down of American comedy, rewarding laziness and immaturity over the kind of rapid-fire intelligence and cultural awareness that Williams brought to his performances. Director Dennis Dugan, who worked with Sandler on multiple projects, recalled that Robin would openly question how Adam kept getting these huge deals when his comedy seemed designed to appeal to 13-year-old boys. Williams' frustration extended beyond artistic differences to genuine concern about comedy's cultural impact. He believed that Sandler's popularity encouraged audiences to expect less from comedic entertainment, making it harder for more ambitious comedic projects to succeed. Producer Judd Apatow noted that Robin saw Adam's success as evidence that the industry was rewarding mediocrity over genuine talent. The conflict reflected Williams' deeper anxieties about his own place in an increasingly commercialized comedy landscape. Sandler convinced Hollywood that being stupid was more profitable than being smart. Williams observed with characteristic directness. Eddie Murphy. The rivalry between Robin Williams and Eddie Murphy represented one of comedy's most significant generational and stylistic conflicts, rooted in their early competition for stand-up supremacy and Williams' resentment of Murphy's seemingly effortless transition to massive commercial success. Both comedians emerged from the stand-up circuit in the late 1970s, but their careers diverged dramatically when Murphy's Saturday Night Live breakthrough and subsequent film success overshadowed Williams' more scattered early projects. Eddie walked into success that I had to claw and scratch for, Williams reportedly told fellow comedian Billy Crystal, according to comedy historian Gerald Nachman. Williams particularly resented what he perceived as Murphy's casual attitude toward his gifts, viewing Murphy's later career choices as a waste of genuine comedic talent in favor of easy commercial payoffs. The tension became evident when both comedians were considered for similar roles requiring rapid-fire improvisational skills and character versatility. Casting director Bonnie Timmerman recalled that Robin would make pointed comments about Eddie's work ethic, suggesting that natural talent wasn't enough if you weren't willing to push yourself artistically. Their philosophical differences extended to their approaches to controversial material and social commentary. Williams, despite his manic energy, maintained a relatively clean comedic persona, while Murphy's early work embraced provocative content that Williams found unnecessarily crude. Director John Landis, who worked with Murphy, noted that Robin saw Eddie as someone who chose shock value over genuine insight, which went against Robin's belief that comedy should elevate audiences rather than pander to their worst instincts. The rivalry reflected Williams' complex relationship with his own commercial ambitions versus artistic integrity. Murphy proved that being dangerous was more marketable than being thoughtful, Williams reflected. Steve Martin. Robin Williams' complicated relationship with Steve Martin revealed his deepest insecurities about intellectual credibility and critical respect within the comedy establishment. While both comedians shared backgrounds in sophisticated cerebral humor, Williams harbored significant resentment toward Martin's seamless transition from avant-garde stand-up to mainstream success without sacrificing critical acclaim. Steve gets to be both popular and respected, which is apparently a luxury reserved for banjo players, Williams sarcastically remarked to The New Yorker, revealing his frustration with what he perceived as Martin's unearned intellectual credibility. The tension intensified when both comedians pursued dramatic roles, with Martin's performances in films like Parenthood and Father of the Bride receiving the kind of critical validation that Williams craved but rarely achieved. Williams felt that Martin's deadpan delivery and literary pretensions masked a fundamental lack of genuine comedic spontaneity. Director Frank Oz, who worked with both actors on separate projects, recalled that Robin would make cutting observations about Steve's calculated approach to humor, suggesting that real comedy couldn't be written in advance like a philosophy paper. Williams particularly resented Martin's successful transition to respected dramatic actor and acclaimed novelist, achievements that represented exactly the kind of artistic legitimacy Williams sought throughout his career. The rivalry extended to their different relationships with the comedy establishment, where Martin's New Yorker pieces and art collecting elevated him to cultural commentator status, while Williams remained categorized as an entertainer. Producer Lorne Michaels observed that Robin saw Steve as someone who used comedy as a stepping stone to respectability, rather than embracing it as a legitimate art form in itself. Martin convinced people that being boring was the same as being smart, Williams concluded with typical bite. Chevy Chase. Robin Williams' disdain for Chevy Chase represented one of comedy's most bitter personality conflicts, rooted in Williams' genuine moral outrage at Chase's legendary arrogance and dismissive treatment of collaborators throughout his career. Unlike Williams' other professional rivalries, which stem from artistic differences, his animosity toward Chase was deeply personal, based on what he witnessed as Chase's contemptuous attitude toward the collaborative spirit that Williams considered essential to great comedy. "Chevy treats everyone like they're lucky to be in the same room with him," Williams told Rolling Stone. "He's forgotten that comedy is about making other people feel good, not making yourself feel superior." Williams' contempt intensified after witnessing Chase's behavior during various industry events and hearing countless stories from mutual collaborators about Chase's unprofessionalism and cruelty toward fellow performers. The conflict became particularly bitter when both comedians were associated with Saturday Night Live legacy, with Williams viewing Chase's dismissive attitude toward the show and its cast members as disrespectful to comedy's most important institution. Director Ivan Reitman, who worked with Chase, recalled that Robin would openly question how Chevy maintained any career at all, given his reputation for being impossible to work with. "Chase proved that you could be successful in comedy while actively hating other comedians," Williams observed with disgust. Ben Stiller. Robin Williams' antagonism toward Ben Stiller reflected his frustration with what he perceived as Hollywood nepotism and his resentment of actors who achieve success through connections rather than genuine comedic innovation. Williams, who built his career through grueling stand-up apprenticeship and improvisational mastery, viewed Stiller's relatively smooth ascension as the beneficiary of industry privilege due to his parents' entertainment careers. Ben got handed opportunities that most of us had to earn through years of bombing in comedy clubs, Williams complained to Variety, revealing his deep-seated belief that comedic credibility required suffering and struggle. The tension intensified when both actors competed for neurotic everyman roles in sophisticated comedies, with Stiller often winning parts that Williams felt better suited his own combination of manic energy and underlying vulnerability. Williams particularly resented Stiller's success as a director, viewing it as another example of industry favoritism toward connected insiders over genuine comedic innovators. Producer Scott Rudin recalled that Robin would make pointed comments about Ben's vision, suggesting that having famous parents was apparently enough qualification for calling yourself a filmmaker. Stiller proved that in Hollywood, who you know matters more than what you can actually do, Williams reflected with characteristic bitterness. Williams's antagonisms revealed his complex anxieties about comedy's artistic legitimacy and his place within an increasingly commercialized entertainment landscape. His conflicts exposed deeper tensions about intellectual versus populist comedy, revealing an artist constantly wrestling with respect and commercial success. Subscribe for more Hollywood Feuds.